for Workshop Wednesday. Looks like it. Welcome, everyone. Got kind of an unusual setup this week, as you can see. We're going to make a mask today. First time I've ever made a mask outside of a kit I got when I was a kid on how to make a sarcophagus mask, an Egyptian mask. But that had a form. This will not have a form. I will form it out of my own face. So first things first, get some of this here, and we will get some of this over here. All right. So, I did a bit of looking up about this online. I have no idea how well this is going to work. Obviously, we will not have a full mask by the time this is done. Perhaps not, obviously. The project here is paper mache. We're going to make a paper mache mask out of my own face for a particular project I have in mind. But the kind of the first goal here is to get a form of my face. Yep, a form of my face. And we're going to layer paper mache on that and make a mask out of it. So the first job, so I have here a bowl with a little bit of water in it. I'm going to add some glue to that. Just some general old, white glue. In a little bit after I have my mold. And then we're going to take some newspaper, tear it into strips, and lay that over the mask shape. But like I said, first things first, I need to make, actually, you know what I should do? I should have done that. I should have done it like this. A nice big piece of aluminum foil here. I'm going to fold this over into thirds, roughly into thirds. And this will form, hopefully, how thick is that? That's reasonably thick. So this is going to be my face. I am Iron Man. Had to do that. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of make a... I don't think that's enough. Is that going to be... Is that... It doesn't cover enough of my face. I don't like that. Let's do it again. I'm learning. Let's do a nice big one. Put an apprenticeship, going for communal settings. I love that idea, Carmadillo. That you generally apprentice with somebody outside the home. That's a great idea. I will add that into the notes. Okay. So here's a bigger piece. Actually, I could use that. Yeah, okay. So I'm just going to squeeze this into the shape of my face. Roughly. It's very odd feeling. Sorry, it's a very odd feeling. Oh, that is kind of a weird impression. Okay, so there are the eyes. There's the nose. And then I'll cut out holes for my eyes and probably my mouth. I might even just have like an opening for the mouth. We'll see. Alright, so there are my eyes. There's the head, the forehead. It's going to go like that. Around there. And then we squeeze. Okay. Alright, so there's my mask of myself, roughly. That's a weird feeling. That's very creepy. Okay, so... Okay. I might actually open that up a little bit more. I don't want it to bind too much to my face. So there's me. Ugh. Frightening. So I can do a couple of different ways. I could layer this entire thing with paper mache, or, and then once it's dried, cut out the holes. Or I could cut it out now, and then layer the paper mache over that. Now I should point out, obviously paper mache takes a while to dry, so we're going to layer all this with paper mache tonight, and then we'll come back later and see what happens when it's dried, if it's dried. But I think I'm going to punch out the holes for the eyes first, so that I have a sense. There we go. Of how much visibility I get. The trick here being doing this in a way that doesn't then deform the mask, right? 'Cause you can, in doing this, you're actually changing the shape of the mask. I want large eye holes. This is actually from my D&D group. I want a mask that I can wear at key moments to kind of hide myself and my reaction. You know, kind of ideally, I will have this kind of consistent DM mask where whenever I'm DMing, I've got this weird mask on. It'll be really weird and creepy, but then that's, you know, kind of part of the joy. All right, let's just see what. All right, that gives me a lot of visibility, actually. Could open it up a little bit more. This would be a pretty effective horror mask, I think. You know, Metal Man. Okay. Okay. So then we go to the other side. Again, this is multiple layers. I think it's 4 layers of aluminum foil. So it's not that easy to puncture. And I'm trying to make these eyes reasonably equal in shape. It's a little creepier when they're unequal in shape. But I'm not actually looking for that kind of creepiness in this. We'll see where it goes. Okay. There's that eye hole. Needs to be bigger on top. Man. Had nothing but giant engined vehicles going by my house here. Okay. A few little pieces of aluminum foil shrapnel, but we can resolve that. So here are my eye holes. How do I like that? I can see quite a bit, but I'm okay with making that bigger. Let's see here. So I can really go bigger all around except for in the center. Yeah, the center is... I can... Yeah. I'm just going to enlarge in all of these holes. I'll embiggen them each by about the same amount. Roughly. And we'll see what we have. This is one thing I like about crafts like this, is that you start and you get to experiment and test and say, well, no, you know, I actually want it a little bigger here, a little smaller there, and you can adjust as you go, as opposed to these projects where you have no idea what you have until you're basically done. Much prefer to be able to test and manipulate as I make it. Okay. Like I said, I'll have to cut out something for the mouth, and I think I will basically cut out the entire bottom half of this. Partly that's just for easier use of the mask. If I'm going to be wearing this for extended periods, it's going to be a lot more comfortable and I'll be talking for a lot of that. It's a lot more comfortable if there's not a chin I'm banging on. Okay. Let's just cut that off. So there's my mask. Yeah, I can see quite clearly out of this. Hey, Cephalopod. That works as a start. Well, try not to poke my own eye out. Alright, there's the nose. I said, I'll go ahead and... Yeah, this isn't weird at all. Okay. Then if I start here for the mouth, let me just try cutting a small amount out for the mouth. See what that does. Maybe that much. Kind of like the idea of having a relatively small thing there. Opening, if you will. So I could talk like this, which creates sort of a weird... Okay, no. Go. Need to be higher. Quite a bit higher. Otherwise, gosh, I've got kind of a Spartan look here, don't I? Okay. So let's open that up a little bit, because otherwise folks will have no idea what I'm saying. And then I think we'll open this up as well. I do like the idea of a relatively small opening for the mouth. Huh. So I can talk like this. Ooh, that's... What the heck? That's very uneven, isn't it? Is it? Actually, no, it's just, it's uneven in that sense. I just need to cut up further and even that out. Okay. That's better. Okay. So now I'm talking, and we'll see how well people can hear me talking. That's not bad. And people can... I think it's going to need to be larger, otherwise folks will have no idea what I'm saying. It's going to look really weird. Do I want... See, this feels like a beard down here, and I think it's going to look wrong, so I'm going to probably cut this like that much. Perhaps. That could look interesting. Okay. Let's cut out a little bit more of that. Do I cut all the... Well, here's a question. What if this just goes like this far? What if I cut the entire bottom off? How would that look? Do I want to have the entire bottom half? I do not. But maybe if I cut... Do I cut it down like diagonally like that, maybe? That doesn't feel right either. Do I want more openness with the mouth? I think people will be able to hear me like cutting the bottom off. See, I like cutting the bottom off too, to an extent, but there's a mystery, a weirdness to this shape. Like it just doesn't feel normal. It feels like a Spartan helmet, and I kind of like that feel. So I don't want the entire bottom off, but I want... Well, okay, let's just try this. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to cut off that much. I'm going to cut off that much. Let's create a swoop to it. How's that look? That's even worse. Okay, so let's cut off half of it. What does that do? That's not bad. That feels unusual. It feels distinct. There's a little bit of a sideburn sense to it. I'm not thrilled. Maybe if let me try this. I'm gonna kind of curve it like that, and curve it like that. Do kind of a... Already got quite a curve, actually. That's not bad. Yeah, that's pretty good. It's a little weird, but yeah, I think that'll work. Could you cut along the jaw? Yeah, which I've basically done. Cut along the jawline. Yeah, I think that makes sense. It's not ridiculously weird, but as a first attempt, as a first mask, that's a good start. Okay. Now what I want to do is get in here and really smash this. Basically make this as flat as possible. I'm going to be laying my paper mache over it, and I want these to be, I don't want it to be particularly rippled. Okay. Because I actually, what I want to do, if possible, let me move some of this stuff out of the way, is I want to actually layer a pattern of paper over this. So I want to essentially wallpaper this in a very particular, this map pattern I came across, which I think is really cool. So we'll see what happens there. So let's go ahead and, like I say, kind of flatten this out, make it into more of a mask shape. And actually, while I'm at it, let's go ahead and trim. See this weird edge here. Let's make that nice and curved. See anywhere else where we could? Yeah, we can. Yeah. Okay. This might not be the last mask I make. In which case, actually, yeah, I'd love to make an asymmetrical mask, but that's not going to be for my first mask. Okay, so now one of the other things I'm trying to avoid here is making this conform too closely to my face, because if I'm going to be wearing this for long periods of time and it's really constricting, that will be difficult. But if it's a little wider, it'll be a little easier. And actually, the other thing is, obviously, once I put the paper mache over here, there'll be a thin layer. The aluminum foil is another layer. I'll rip the aluminum foil out, so that'll add an extra gap in there. But it just, don't want to get too tight on this. Okay. And then this lip. Yeah, let's just adjust that lip a little bit. Squeeze that. Okay. Oh, I also want to attach holes. Let me grab a marker. I'm going to try to cut... Yeah, it may not make sense. No, I was going to try to cut holes for the strap that'll hold this together. Actually be Velcro pieces. But I think that's going to be too small, too fiddly to lay on the paper mache. So I think instead of trying to do that, I'm going to just go ahead and lay it out with paper mache, do all that, and then when the paper mache is dry, I'll just cut those holes. So we have this. The eyes are not the same. This one's rounder. This one's curved. I actually like that. I'm going to stick with that. That is an interesting thing. Yep, the breathing through the nose seems okay. It's actually, that's a good point. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure that this part of the mask here underneath the nose doesn't come in too much. So it's going to come in about halfway. That should give my nose plenty of breathing space underneath there. Thanks for bringing that up, Cephalopod. All right, so now we're going to move some of our discarded aluminum foil off to the side. Might actually use some of this extra aluminum foil. Yeah, so I'm just balling this up into a simple shape, which I will be able to use to kind of hold my aluminum foil. I keep forgetting the arrangement of this desk. So that will just give me something to work on. All right, so I have my water, and I'm going to add a bunch of glue to that. They generally recommend like half and half, but we'll see how this works. So there's a bunch of glue going into here. This might be half and half. I can't really tell. Don't think it is. And I'm going to get all messy here. I'll probably go ahead and grab... I can make a note to myself to get some more glue tomorrow. So I will get some more of this. I need to tear my newspaper into strips. Wish I could just leave this draining, but there's really no good way of doing that, is there? Oh well. My newspaper is actually not a newspaper, it's just a circular that was sent to me. But I am going to grab some gloves because I think that will be important. I'd rather get a little bit of gunk on me, but get most of it off on the gloves. Get most of it on the gloves. Have the nasal ridge just flow all the way down to the lip. Give the mask a more angular, distinct look. That's a good point. I could try that. Let's see here. So if I just do that, basically. So there it is with the nose just going all the way down. I like that. That's a great idea. I think I'm just going to do that. So there's that nose just going all the way down. Yeah, definitely distinctive. That's cool. Good idea, Carmadillo. You're full of good ideas tonight. All right. Come on, gloves. Be good. All right. Then we're just going to swirl that around. Mix that glue in. Get a nice glue and water paste. I should have some paper towels. Let me get some paper towels. That's going to be important. And as I mentioned when I started this, I have not done this in forever. So, no promises. Let me grab some paper towels. Wish there was an easy way for me to do a follow-up video to this, but we'll see. We'll see what I'm able to do. Actually, I could do one tomorrow, maybe. Alright. First off, I will clean that stuff off of this glovedy finger. Alright. Put that to the side. Put that in the trash. Whoa. In the trash, I said, not to the side of the trash. Alright, then we have our adult education papers. It's already torn. Great. So, let's see what happens here. So I want... Ooh, that's not tearing very well. That direction. Okay. Paper often has a direction it prefers to be torn in. Let's just go ahead and... Nope, yep, sure enough, it does not like being torn that way. Definitely. And obviously we'll have to make some smaller pieces for all that, but let's just go ahead and give this a try. So before I begin, let's verify shape. And there's that nose. Okay, this goes off, goes like this. Okay, wanted about that shape. Okay. So, yep, we're going to put that in the glue and water and drape it over there. So it begins. The great, whoops, not going to work very well probably. The great mask making begins. Yeah, exactly. And here's the mask I prepared earlier. I wouldn't do that to you guys. Maybe I will someday. But the whole point of this, as far as I'm concerned, is to see the entire process, including all the mistakes. Now you'll notice, I great size there. So let's try to do that there. Is that... Ooh, actually, I've got some... Yeah, all right. I've already noticed that I'm getting some gaps between the aluminum foil and the newspaper strips. Just naturally because of how the wrinkles in the aluminum foil create these valleys that doesn't fit into. And actually, before I go any further, I'm going to make these even smaller because I've got a lot of quote-unquote detail on this mask that's not going to make sense. I can't get large pieces on. In fact, I might just do this there. This is going to be interesting to see how I do larger sections with these pieces. Yeah, it's gonna have to be like half a piece on the side there. I wonder if it's better to soak them for a few moments in here. I don't know. Let's try that. Let's give it a few seconds in there. May need a little more time. And that goes there. We're also definitely going to have an issue in terms of the edges of the mask, right? Because that's not going to exactly match these strip shapes. All right. Yeah, I'm going to need some large pieces here. How did that? There we are. Okay. Do some, yeah, I'm going to need some small pieces. And I'll try to do, I think, roughly a total of 2 layers of this paper mache. Trying to cover everything twice with paper mache. That I don't know. Like I said, just kind of makes sense. This does feel like a fairly wet solution of paper mache. I have very little experience with it, but I am worried that I may not have enough glue in this. We'll see. I'm trying to make a mask out of clay. I have not. And the only mask I've made was paper mache from an Egyptian kit. But that would be an interesting thing. Clay is obviously heavy. So that would be the main issue there. But that'd be an interesting project. I haven't used clay in forever. I have some clay, but it's, the relatively inexpensive modeling clay from the store. Or it's the little blocks of modeling clay from the store. So I would need a lot more than that. I just use that clay for filling in spots in my 3D printed minis. Okay, so that goes there. I will need, okay. Clean my gloved hands off a little bit so I can then start with this. I need fairly thin strips for a lot of this detail work. But obviously the thinner your strips, the less area you're covering, and the longer it takes. I know that much. Ooh, the scissors are getting covered with paper mache. Oops. Okay. So let's do this. Have you guys in the chat room made any masks in the past? You experimented with this kind of thing before? All right, we're definitely getting something mask-like out of this. That's good. do wonder what it'll turn out looking like, but that's not really our main concern this second. Never? Okay, yeah, no. Yeah, I just had the idea, really the vision of during a D&D game putting on a mask and then, talking to my players through the mask, and thought, oh, I got to do that. Have a mask on while saying, "You enter the woods, an elf appears." Narrating everything that way. The creator of D&D, one of the creators of D&D, Gary Gygax, one thing he would do sometimes is he would run D&D from his office, and he would set up filing cabinets and open the filing cabinet so that you couldn't see him physically while he was running the game. And as a result, you just hear his voice as he was describing the environment to you and the monsters and asking you what you wanted to do next. It was kind of interesting, the idea of the guy running the game, person running the game, as kind of a disembodied host. Kind of neat. Okay, yeah, the nose is a complex shape. And it's going to be an interesting challenge. Yeah, masks are an odd thing. It's also inspired. I'm actually reading a Japanese book about faces. It's really where I got the idea. Where a man is badly disfigured in an accident, and so he decides to try to make a mask out of like advanced plastics and such that will going down here. That will look like a face, close enough, with a beard and maybe glasses on, sunglasses on. It's close enough to a face that somebody would not notice otherwise. And so it becomes this very interesting treatise on faces and masks and how we use various things like our faces to communicate, and how important faces are. The fact that our faces really say a lot about us, really more than we would like to, often. And how that's just kind of an interesting thing to think about. That everyone judges us by our face. It is one of our primary modes of communication. Even with our speaking, people pay a lot of attention to your facial expression. And I just find that fascinating to think about this thing that you really can't control. I have not seen eyes without a face, no. Maybe based on this book, for all I know. Or inspired by the book. Book came out a while ago, I think in the 50s in Japan. And then I think translated, well, I don't know when it was translated. That may not have been recent. Okay. So let's cover, I think we got most of this layer done. Let me do this here. Certainly got plenty of the newspaper left. I want to get around the eyes, though. Let me do that. Need a bit more around the eyes. Yeah, it's one of those books that's very intellectual. The main character has a lot of asides to the reader just about the very topic of the novel. Right, so it's less about the things he's doing, although that's important, and more about the ideas of the novel, the things he's thinking about, which relate to faces and expression, and how somebody without a face is very much, very strange to us, very odd. French film from '62, interesting, possible, but unlikely connected to this book then. there, and then a bit more down there, and a few more pieces. So obviously around the eyes with that very round shape, you're going to need a lot more pieces of paper mache. Because I could certainly cut the newspaper in a shape, although I'm not getting, see, it's not forming the shape I'm looking for right there. Hopefully it'll work itself out. And we'll see. I need another piece for the bottom of that eye. Look at you, Carmadillo, watching French films from 1962. That's cool. Get the feeling that nobody watches older movies these days. Actually, just rewatched His Girl Friday this past weekend. Classic American movie from 1940, including a significant number of things that would not be considered very acceptable today, although very progressive in its representation of women, famously. Okay. So there's our, oh, not quite. Sort of desert Bedouin look, your face is covered by scarves and robes. Yeah, yeah. And there's a comforting anonymity to that kind of look. Okay. So there's layer one. So now it's just a matter of getting another layer on over top of this for extra stability. And also gives you a chance to make it a little more, got kind of a, there we go. That's kind of tearing, okay. Yeah, it gives you a chance to go crisscross on some of those areas that could get some added strength. To repair her visage, he forced her to wear a protective mask, protect for their harm. Ah, interesting, gotcha. Yeah, kind of similar in general tone to this book then. Certainly not the same, but working in the similar concepts. Okay. This is exciting. It's cool to see this come together. I suspect once this is done, I will come back and make another one. Because it's so often the case that the first thing you make, doesn't turn out very well because you're learning everything. And so when you do it the second time, you're like, ah, now I know what to do. Now we know. Now we know. Now we understand the process, the mistakes to make, the mistakes to avoid, rather. Generally don't want to make mistakes. You don't want to make mistakes, you just do. Okay, put that over there. Might need a third layer for stability. I'm thinking, 2 layers of newspaper isn't actually that much. The more I think about that. But we'll see as we progress on. So yeah, thus far this is pretty straightforward, must say. Who knows if it'll actually work, but it's working in terms of being an effective way of layering things on. It's just a question of whether it'll be actually dry. They say about 10 hours for it to dry. And that makes sense to me. Not that I know anything, but that's fair enough. Okay. Again, I'm kind of trying to go across the strips I laid out earlier. Ah, nice, yeah. Delving into that. There's a really neat Indian movie I saw a while back about a man who remarries. He has 2 young kids, preteen, and the new wife is a witch. But of course, the kids realize this and try to tell the father, and the father doesn't believe them. And so it's a generally horror movie. There are some comedic moments to it, definitely comedic elements to it. I'd almost call it like a horror family film, in the sense that it is about, it's got very strong family value elements to it about protecting your own, because the kids are worried for their father as much as for themselves. And so that's kind of a neat idea of having the kids be the ones who realize what's going on and try to convince the adults. And the adults are, the father is not an unsympathetic character, right? Like he loves his kids. He just doesn't believe this idea of the mother being a witch. Who would? Okay. There is a bit of missed opportunity at the end, though, because spoiler alert, they fight the witch and win. With this big action scene, sort of Ghostbusters-esque action scene of the older, it's a maybe a 10-year-old boy and like an 8-year-old girl, as I recall. And the boy ends up teaming up with the father at the end, and you have this rather awesome action scene of them fighting off this witch. And at the end, I was like, now I want to see the movie of this, father and son witch hunting team as they're running around using various traditional Japanese, Indian techniques, as well as like martial arts, to fight off these witches. I thought that'd be an awesome sort of coda to the movie, but it didn't really go there. Not really the movie they're trying to tell. Okay, this should probably be enough. Let's go ahead and pre-divide these. Okay. There we go. Some nice big pieces here. But yeah, I'm always up for a movie with some character development. Give me something. You know what? No, I think I'm going to move this down here. Just watching some YouTube videos by a guy who does some really smart stuff. Patrick Willem, I think is his name. There's some really good video essays about film, and he clearly knows his stuff. And he talked about how important it is to have character development. How one of the problems with the DC movies is that they kind of rely on you knowing who these characters are. And even if you don't, like, the characters don't really change. They don't really have an arc over the course of the story. As a result, you don't really care about them. And that's fine if you're telling a different kind of story. But so many of these big blockbusters are dependent on us caring about the characters. If we don't really know who the characters are, or who these characters are supposed to be, right? Like, there are lots of different takes on Batman. So it's like, which Batman is this? Which version of the character? Without knowing that, it's really hard to get invested in this particular take on Batman or Superman. And what they're trying to do. Oh, wow. Inspired the Michael Myers mask. Cool. Gosh, I love Halloween. The movie. Okay. I actually kind of like the imagery of this, of seeing all of this bit of text on the mask. Kind of neat and creepy. Huh. Cool. Yeah, I think I've heard of Eyes Without a Face. Probably one of those things that's, people reference as one of those great classic horror movies that are now forgotten because nobody watches movies more than 20 years old. Obviously, I'm slightly overstating the case there, but in fact, I just started watching Treasure Island, the original 1950. Well, not the original, but the old 1950 version. There was a film made of it before that. And I remember growing up with that movie and loving it. And interesting to go back and watch it. There are pluses and minuses to the film. It's slower than I remembered. But as I recall, that first, the first act, basically, that movie is quite slow. Almost deliberately. Just to kind of get you going and lull you into a sense of this is going to be a quiet movie, and then it kind of ramps up near the end. No, I mean obviously it's no Transformers, but as I recall, it does get a rather more exciting once they get to the actual island. And I do remember there being, and I'm looking forward to this, there's that scene where Jim Hawkins sneaks back onto the ship, which is, in my opinion, one of the great, crowning moments of awesome in film, even though it's relatively quiet, but it is this, kid seeking aboard a pirate ship, surrounded by people with guns who will shoot him on sight, and carrying out this mission. I believe he actually shoots one of the pirates at one point, like right in the face, basically. And it's this great sort of moment of Jim coming into his own in a very dangerous environment, especially with the fact that he's sailed with all of these guys, he knows them, but he has to do this really dangerous thing. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I'll probably end up doing a video essay on that movie, kind of the cool things in the film. Treasure Island's a pretty geek film. Pretty geeky. Pirates and such. Also the originator of the pirate accent, actually. The actor in that, which I'm forgetting his name, who played Long John Silver, his accent in that film, which is an accent he chose, is just became, Army matey. That was his accent. It was not the pirate accent before that film, and now it is. But I mean, the movie opens. Literally the first shot of the movie is a Jolly Roger, the flag. I'm like, thank you for just starting with this is what our movie is: pirates. Boom. No beating around the bush. This is what you're gonna get: pirates. Robert Newton, thank you. Yes. Yeah, as I recall, I think from what I remember, that's the accent he grew up with. That is not his. When he became an actor, he moved away from that accent, but he kind of leaned back into that accent that he grew up with, and heard every day as a kid. For that, might be. I have to check into that, but I believe he was normally he normally had more of a BBC accent, if you will, more traditional British accent. But I don't remember what other movies I've seen with him in it. I don't know. In fact, one of the reasons I wanted to watch that is that I watched Animal Treasure Island a while back, an anime film, kids film from the early 70s, late 60s, something like that, which Hayao Miyazaki worked on. And boy, can you tell. Oh my gosh. It's a toy film, different director, but Hayao Miyazaki basically was the one who adapted Treasure Island for the plot, so he basically scripted it. So Jim Hawkins is a human, everyone else is an animal, walking on two legs. Halfway through, you come across the spirited girl character, who is very much Sheeta. Very much Sheeta. well, not very much Sheeta, but sort of a combination of Clarice from Cagliostro and bits of Sheeta and so forth. Get some more paper towels here. But that Miyazaki, female character that the protagonist has to protect, but who can also kick ass in the appropriate times. She's there, and there are several shots that he lifted straight for Cagliostro, like shots of characters. There's one shot of a character falling back. I'm like, that is from Cagliostro. He basically traced the lines on that shot. Very interesting to watch. Okay, we may not even use all of these, but this will certainly be enough, I think, to finish off our mask. And then we'll let it dry. And then we'll come back to this some other time. Maybe here next week. Am I going to be out of town next week? I think I'll be out of town next week. I'll be traveling next week. So maybe the week after that I can do that. Or we'll do a special video or something. Oh, come on. There we are. Okay. So, take these big pieces. And again, this may completely fall apart. This may not stick well at all. I may need to soak these pieces in the paper mache solution, although I did not see anything telling me I should. Like that was, in the various things I read, that was not a thing people mentioned, but who knows? I could use a hairdryer. I don't own one. So I think that would certainly be a solution, though. I think that is definitely a good idea. I don't know, but that strikes me as a thing. If I had a hairdryer, I would use it. Put it that way. Let's see here. I don't really have anything else. I mean, I have a fan on my microwave. I could put under that. It's a thought. What other fans or other sort of blow dryer type things do I have? Let me think about that while I lay the rest of this paper mache on. I have a computer fan. I could use that. That should work great, right? Oops. Tap that down. Yeah, I'm going out of town to a gaming convention, tabletop convention, next week. Leaving on Wednesday, I think. Yeah, leaving on Wednesday, so that's going to be a problem. Probably won't be able to do a live stream either while I'm there. The Friday stream. One of those things. But I may try to get in a live stream at some point over the weekend. Even if it's not on the regular day or time. There we go. Just use a dragon terrarium. I would love to own a dragon. I sadly do not. Okay, let's do some smaller pieces up here around the edge. And this is a regular old tarp, like a blue tarp. I have one in my truck. Use it all the time. In fact, I'll probably be using it later on this week. I've been 3D printing coins for tabletop gaming. So little gold pieces, silver pieces, that kind of stuff. Which I then need to... I'll actually spray paint with like gold and silver paint. Let's see here. Another one up here. One over there. Yeah, I think I'll finish up these strips, even though it'll be maybe more than I technically need, but I think it's not a bad thing. I think a few extra strips just to give it some extra strength will not be remiss. Actually, I'll also take this opportunity to get in some of these edges, some of these spots, which could probably use a little extra detail, if you will. A little extra mache. I don't want the edges of the mask to be too thin, right? You want strength there, especially in a spot where you're going to punch holes and put in the line, the strap that holds it in place. So I think that'll be worth it. I think I'll just let it go. I'll let it dry normally. Unfortunately, it's very wet here right now. It's been raining a lot. So this is not an ideal time of year for me to be making a mask that needs to dry. But I'm sure I just put it in a corner somewhere. It'll be fine. So 10 hours from now would be, yeah. So I'll definitely know by tomorrow morning how it is, how it turned out. So yeah, at this point I'm basically laying, hey Game Escape, yep, paper mache mask for my DMing. Let's see here. So yeah, right now I'm basically just laying out strips across other strips for some extra strength. With construction paper, that's a good question. I do not know. I think the construction paper would be too thick. I think it would not lay across well. You know, you get way more bubbling and way more lines than you would with the newspaper, which is so thin, it tends to stretch, probably more than construction paper would. That's what I'm going to assume. All right. This is one of those things, we mentioned clay earlier, where if there are problems with the mask, you could probably use clay to fill out spots. In fact, that's probably what I will end up doing. Depending on how the mask turns out, I might end up adding bits and pieces to it by throwing on some clay in pieces. Could frame the mask out a little better though. Yeah, it could. Absolutely. And you could certainly add construction paper afterwards for all sorts of neat effects. That'd be a great idea. Use that construction paper to really give it some oomph. You know what, I'm going to tear this in half. Use one piece. No. I don't think that's going to fit very well. Well, pretty well. And that goes over there. There we are. And a piece. We'll do another piece up here. Structural integrity? Yeah, possibly. Last I checked, yep, still can't live stream on YouTube. Can just upload videos. No live stream. I mean, I checked 3 weeks afterwards, and I still couldn't do it, so I'm figuring if I was banned then, I'm probably still banned now. But I'll check again, sooner or later, just to see. Yep, kind of crazy, but you know, that's the reality we live in. Okay, there's a little bit here. Where can I use that? Where can I put in a little right there? Put in some right there. Okay. I'm going to fold that in, touch that in. All right, there's the mask. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put this over. Actually, no, wait, I'm not. Because there's a little gap there that I did not notice. Do I have any more? No. One sec. There we go. Okay. That's better. All right, yep, I'm going to put this over to the side, and this will end up being, hopefully, a dry mask. When that's done, I'll probably start out by just painting it. You know, give it a coat of a simple color. Might sand it down a bit too. And then once that's done, I will see. I would like to paint a map onto it, just for visual flair. Originally, I was thinking of taking like wallpaper of a map and laying it over here and then cutting that out. But the more I think about it, the more I think that's going to be almost impossible to layer over this and contour it. So I think instead I will just, like, I'll paint it maybe like a yellowy white, you know, like a parchment white, and then, draw lines on it and little dots and so forth. Let me try that. The aluminum foil would be very unhappy in the microwave. You could try, possibly in the oven, set to the lowest temperature, but I think even the lowest temperature in the oven would probably be too hot for this. It wouldn't burst into flame, but it would probably, bake it. It would shrivel as opposed to actually dry. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and leave this as is. I'll move it over to somewhere else in the house, obviously. But yeah, so that's a paper mache mask, and we'll see where that ends up. I've got little bits of this everywhere. I do need to clean up some of the little bits and gunk and so forth. But yeah, we'll see where this ends up. Oh, there's a little bit more of paper mache right there. Where can I put that? Is there a spot? We'll put some right there around the eye, just to give it a little more structural integrity. Okay. Yep. Thank you all very much. I'll definitely be back on Friday with a live stream, and maybe then I'll show you how the mask turned out. We'll see. All right. Have a good week, guys. See ya.